Welcome back to Technically You, the podcast that unpacks the tech that is shaping our world.
Today is part two of our coverage on the world of polyfunctional intelligent manufacturing robots. So let's kick it off with the industries that are adopting this technology.
Okay, so which industries are actually using these robots? I'm guessing automotive manufacturing?
Yes, automotive is definitely a major adopter. They've been using robots for decades and are now upgrading to intelligent systems. But the adoption is much broader than you might think.
Walk us through them.
Sure, electronics manufacturing is huge. Companies like Apple, Samsung, and Foxconn use intelligent robots for assembly, inspection, and testing. The precision required for modern electronics, we're talking micrometer tolerances, is perfect for robots with vision and force sensing.
What makes electronics a good fit?
High volume, consistent quality requirements, and small delicate parts that are tedious for humans to work with for hours. Plus rapid product cycles, the ability for robots to quickly retrain for new products is valuable.
What else?
Aerospace comes to mind. Boeing and Airbus use intelligent robots for drilling thousands of precise holes in aircraft fuselages, applying sealants, and inspecting for defects. These are safety-critical applications where the robot's consistency and documentation are valuable.
I imagine pharmaceuticals too.
Absolutely. Pharmaceutical manufacturing needs extreme precision in sterile environments. Robots handle filling vials, packaging medications, and quality inspection. They can work in clean rooms without generating particles or contamination risks that humans introduce.
That makes sense. What about food and beverage?
Growing rapidly. Food production has unique challenges: irregular shapes, varying ripeness, sanitation requirements. Intelligent robots with computer vision can produce, identify quality issues, and adapt to variations in natural products.
Can they tell if a strawberry is ripe?
Better than many humans. They can analyze color, size, shape, and even use spectral imaging to detect internal quality. Some can predict shelf life based on visual characteristics.
Wow. What other industries?
Logistics and warehousing. Amazon is the obvious example, but it's spreading. Robots that can navigate warehouses, identify and pick diverse products, and adapt to new inventory are revolutionizing fulfillment.
I've heard about the Amazon robots, but aren't those just following floor markers?
The early ones were, but modern systems use SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping. They build maps of their environment, navigate dynamically, and adapt when the layout changes.
What's SLAM?
It's how robots orient themselves in space without predefined paths. Using sensors, they map their surroundings while simultaneously tracking their position. It's the same technology in robot vacuums, just scaled up.
Got it. Any other industries surprising you?
Construction. Robots are starting to handle bricklaying, welding steel structures, even 3D printing entire buildings. Agriculture is another big one. Harvesting crops, pruning, monitoring plant health.
No way. I would not have guessed construction or agriculture.
Me neither initially. But both face labor shortages and have tasks that are physically demanding and sometimes dangerous. Plus environmental monitoring, agricultural robots can detect disease or pests early, reducing pesticide use.
What about healthcare?
Definitely. Surgical robots are one example, but there are also robots for dispensing medications, transporting supplies within hospitals, even assisting with rehabilitation therapy.
Are these all using the same technology?
The core AI and robotics principles are similar, but they're adapted to each domain. An agricultural robot needs weatherproofing and GPS. A pharmaceutical robot needs sterile construction and precise fluid handling. A construction robot needs rugged design and heavy payload capacity.
I want to understand the technology stack. All the layers that make these robots work. Can you break that down?
Definitely. Think of it as layers from the physical hardware up to the cloud-based intelligence.
Start at the bottom.
The foundation is the physical robot, motors, actuators, structural components. This is precision mechanical engineering with powerful, precise motors that can repeat motions within micrometers.
What's above that?
The sensor layer, all those cameras, force sensors, proximity detectors we talked about. Then there's the edge computing layer, powerful onboard computers, often with specialized AI processors like GPUs or neural processing units.
Why specialized processors?
Artificial intelligence workloads, especially neural networks, benefit from parallel processing. GPUs can run computer vision algorithms much faster than traditional CPUs. Some robots even have custom AI chips optimized specifically for inference.
Inference?
That's when a trained AI model makes predictions or decisions, as opposed to training, which is learning the model in the first place. Inference needs to be fast and power efficient.
Got it. What's next?
The software stack. At the base, you have the real-time operating system, software that controls motors, reads sensors, and ensures precise timing. This is safety-critical code that runs on the robot itself.
And above that?
The AI frameworks, TensorFlow, PyTorch, or specialized robotics frameworks like ROS, the Robot Operating System. These provide tools for computer vision, path planning, machine learning.
What's ROS? That reminds me of We Were on a Break, Ross.
That's funny, and I love that episode. But it's an open-source framework that's become a standard in robotics. It provides libraries for common robotics tasks, navigation, manipulation, perception, so developers don't have to reinvent everything.
So like a shared toolkit?
Exactly. Then you have the application layer, the specific software for the robot's tasks. This might be proprietary code from the manufacturer or custom code written for specific applications.
And then the cloud?
Right. The cloud layer handles fleet management, learning aggregation, software updates, and long-term analytics. This is where data from many robots is combined for insights.
How do all these layers communicate?
Through standardized protocols, industrial networks like OPC-UA for talking to other factory equipment, MQTT or similar protocols for cloud communication, and internal communication buses for components within the robot.
It sounds incredibly complex.
It is, but that complexity is abstracted away from end users. A factory supervisor doesn't need to understand neural network architectures. They interact through simple dashboards and interfaces.
All right, let's get to what I think everyone really wants to know. Where is this all heading? What's the future of intelligent manufacturing robots?
This is where it gets really exciting. We're moving toward what people are calling autonomous industry agents. Robots that don't just follow instructions or learn from data, but actively participate in planning and optimizing industrial processes.
That sounds very sci-fi. What does it actually mean?
Imagine a factory where robots don't just execute tasks, but participate in scheduling, resource allocation, and even maintenance planning. They become agents that negotiate with each other and with human managers to optimize outcomes.
Negotiate?
Yeah. Say you have multiple robots and limited resources, specific tools, workstations, or materials. Robots could negotiate among themselves. I can wait 10 minutes to use the precision welder if you need it urgently for a priority order.
Are we really at that point?
It's emerging. Multi-agent systems from AI research are being applied to manufacturing. Robots are starting to bid on tasks, form temporary teams for complex jobs, and optimize collectively rather than individually.
Give me a concrete example of where this is happening.
Siemens has experimental factories where robots self-organize to handle custom orders. When a new order comes in, robots analyze the requirements and autonomously form a team with the right capabilities, negotiate the workflow, and execute without human intervention.
That's actually happening now?
In pilot programs, yes. It's not widespread yet, but the technology is proven. The challenge is scaling it and building trust with human managers.
What about true autonomy? Robots making strategic decisions?
That's the next frontier. We're seeing early examples of robots that can optimize production schedules, predict maintenance needs before failures occur, and even suggest process improvements.
Suggest improvements? Like they're management consultants?
Kind of. They have comprehensive data about the manufacturing process, What works, what doesn't, where bottlenecks occur. Artificial intelligence can identify patterns humans miss and then propose optimizations.
Do humans actually listen to robot suggestions?
Increasingly, yes, especially when the suggestions come with data and simulations showing projected benefits, though there's definitely skepticism to overcome.
What about digital twins? You mentioned those earlier.
Digital twins are becoming central to the future vision. Every physical robot has a virtual counterpart that simulates its actions, tests scenarios, and predicts outcomes.
So the virtual robot is constantly running experiments?
Exactly. It might test thousands of different approaches to a task in simulation, find the optimal one, then transfer that learning to the physical robot. This dramatically accelerates learning without risk.
What about coordination between different types of machines?
That's Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. The vision is fully connected factories where robots, CNC machines, 3D printers, AGVS, all communicate and coordinate autonomously.
Autonomous guided vehicles?
Automated guided vehicles, robots that move materials around the factory. The idea is that everything becomes a node in an intelligent network, optimizing globally instead of locally.
What's driving this convergence?
Several factors. 5G and edge computing make real-time communication possible. Standardized protocols let different manufacturers' equipment work together. Artificial intelligence has reached the point where complex coordination is feasible.
What role do humans play in this future?
That's the critical question. The optimistic view is that humans move up the value chain, focusing on creativity, strategy, exception handling, and oversight. Robots handle the routine, humans handle the novel.
And the pessimistic view?
Workforce displacement, obviously. Not every worker displaced from a routine job can transition to a strategic role. This is a legitimate societal challenge we need to address.
Let's talk specifically about benefits. What are organizations actually getting from these intelligent robots?
The benefits vary by industry, but there are common themes. First and most obvious, productivity. Robots can work 24/7 without breaks, and they maintain consistent pace and quality.
How much more productive are we talking?
It varies wildly, but I've seen case studies showing 30 to 200% productivity increases depending on the application. Electronics assembly might see smaller gains, while logistics can see massive improvements.
What about quality?
Huge quality improvements. Robots with computer vision can detect defects humans miss. They're consistent. They don't get tired or distracted. Pharmaceutical companies have reported defect rates dropping by 80 to 90%.
That's significant.
And it's not just about catching defects, it's about preventing them. Intelligent robots can identify trends that lead to quality issues and alert operators before defects occur.
What about safety? You mentioned dangerous work earlier.
Safety improvements are dramatic in the right applications. Robots can handle hazardous materials, work in extreme temperatures, perform repetitive motions that cause injury in humans. Injury rates in facilities that deploy robots for dangerous tasks often drop significantly.
Any specific examples?
Metal foundries and welding operations are good ones. Robots handle exposure to extreme heat, fumes, and heavy lifting. Chemical processing facilities use robots for handling toxic substances.
What about flexibility? The ability to change what you're producing.
This is where intelligent robots really shine compared to traditional automation. Old assembly lines might take weeks or months to retool for a new product. Intelligent robots can be retrained in days or hours.
Why does that matter?
It enables mass customization, economically producing small batches or even individual custom products. In apparel, some factories can now produce custom-fit clothing without the economics of traditional custom manufacturing.
Are there cost savings?
Long-term, yes, though the upfront investment is significant. Labor costs decrease, but that's not the only savings. Reduced defects mean less wasted material. Better utilization of equipment means you need less of it. Energy efficiency often improves.
What about speed to market?
That's a big one for industries like electronics and automotive. Being able to quickly retool for new products or customize for different markets provides competitive advantage. You can respond to trends faster.
Any unexpected benefits?
Sustainability. Intelligent robots are often more precise in material usage, generate less waste, and can optimize for energy efficiency. Some facilities have seen 20 to 30% reductions in material waste.
How?
Precise cutting with less scrap, optimal path planning that uses less energy, quality improvements that reduce rework. It adds up.
Okay, we've covered a lot of benefits. Let's be real about the challenges. What are the major obstacles to adoption?
First and most obvious, cost. These sophisticated systems aren't cheap. A single intelligent robot might cost $50,000 to $500,000 or more, depending on capabilities. Then there's integration, training, and infrastructure costs.
So small manufacturers can't adopt this technology?
It's harder for them, though there's a growing robot-as-a-service model where companies can lease robots or pay per production unit rather than buying outright.
That helps with the cost barrier. What else?
Technical complexity. Deploying and maintaining these systems requires expertise. Robotics engineers, AI specialists, integration experts. There's a significant skills gap in the workforce.
Meaning companies can't find people with the right skills?
Exactly. Universities are expanding robotics and AI programs, but demand outstrips supply. Companies are having to invest heavily in training or compete aggressively for talent.
What about the integration challenge? These robots need to work with existing equipment, right?
That's a major hurdle. Most factories have a mix of equipment from different manufacturers, different eras, with different communication protocols. Making everything work together is complex and expensive.
Is there standardization happening?
Slowly. Industry groups are working on standards, but we're not there yet. Each integration is still somewhat custom, requiring significant engineering effort.
What about reliability? If a smart robot breaks down, can your maintenance team fix it?
Often, no. This is a real concern. Traditional mechanical problems can be addressed by skilled maintenance workers, but AI-related issues might require specialist support from the manufacturer.
So you're dependent on the vendor?
To some degree, yes, though remote diagnostics and over-the-air updates help. A specialist in another country can often diagnose and fix software issues remotely.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Job displacement. How do we address that?
This is the most important challenge, and honestly, there's no easy answer. Some jobs will be displaced. That's inevitable and already happening.
What's the counterargument?
New jobs are created. Robot technicians, AI trainers, systems integrators. But those aren't the same jobs or necessarily the same workers. Someone who was doing manual assembly might not easily transition to programming robots.
So what's the solution?
Investment in retraining and education is critical. Companies have a responsibility to help workers transition. Governments need to support this through policy and programs. And we need to think creatively about the economic model.
What do you mean by economic model?
If productivity gains from automation go entirely to shareholders while workers are displaced, that's not sustainable. There needs to be broader sharing of benefits, whether through higher wages for remaining workers, shorter work weeks, or other mechanisms.
That sounds political.
It is, but it's also pragmatic. Automation only works if society adapts successfully. If it creates massive inequality and instability, that's not a sustainable path.
We have reached the end of part 2 of Technically Used podcast on polyfunctional intelligent manufacturing robots. Be sure to join us next time when we cover cybersecurity, provide real-world case studies, and much more. So, as always, stay safe and stay curious.